Is Laeradr the next Heiðrún? We're all wondering it, and what in the world is Níðhöggr, and why did they change things out from underneath us? We're going to talk about all of that, as well as some crazy inheritables. We have Níðhöggr first, and this enticing dose is different from her base weapon, which was Dosing Fang. And Dosing Fang still had slaying and piercing of 50%, and a lot of true damage, flat DR, which was nice. Then within 3 rows and 3 columns, you had defense res -7, attack defense -20%, times defense +6, and sabotage. And then if you transformed, you got distant counter and attack +2. But here's where things are different. We need to read this one clause here. If unit is transformed or unit's HP is greater than or equal to 25% at start of combat, deals damage to foe equals 25% of foe's max HP as combat begins. So she had burn damage before. This is a lot more burn damage, and that is something that is really going to be nice for this unit. If you think about the thing that shield fighter saviors lack right now, it is absolutely killing power. This unit has a lot of killing power just in the weapon, and you're probably going to change out the B skill, which we'll go over in just a minute here. But past that, we have Sturdy Beast. We've seen it before. This is a really nice deal. And then we have Divine Toxin, and this is interesting. First, we have the transformation clause that lets this unit transform more easily, and if you're on Aether's defense, which is kind of silly with this unit, transforms instantly, but it's that same fortune thing that we've been seeing before. And then we get dosage. We'll go over that in just a second, because that's what's really interesting about this unit, and she gives it out to allies within 2 spaces. Now, if unit is transformed or a foe initiates combat, grants attack defense res +10 to unit, neutralizes foe's bonuses to attack defense, grants special cooldown charge +1 to unit per attack, and then we have Null Guard. All of this is good, but dosage is the thing we're really looking at here, and especially the fact that she's handing this out. So it's an extra support that she's giving to the whole team. This is grants an Omni +5 to unit during combat, restores 10 HP, and it nullifies Essence Drain and Tina's effect, where they're trying to steal your bonuses. That is a big deal for a lot of Omni tanks and makes this unit a bit more versatile, if only just in the enemy phase. This is still a really nice package if you think about everything that is being done here, though. Past that, we have Slick Fighter 4, which is interesting. Foe initiates combat, or if unit's HP is greater than or equal to 25% at start of combat, inflicts attack -5 on foe, deals +X damage, X equals 20% of unit's defense, excluding AoEs, reduces damage from foe's attack by X, so that's flat DR right there. So you're getting flat DR in the B skill. Now, we've looked at this before. It also gives unit makes a guaranteed follow-up and neutralizes penalty on unit during combat. But honestly, Shield Fighter is so good. It's going to be very, very difficult to get rid of that. I think that is probably going to be the ideal for what this unit wants to use. The Twin Far Save, if you're using Shield Fighter, obviously this doesn't have as great of effect, but it does add extra stats and healing. You don't get the whole axe twice and all that great stuff that you have with the armored skills or even the Sturdy Beast. I still think this is really interesting, though, and I want you guys to think about how powerful Shield Fighter is right now. The fact that Femortis is now a very formidable near save in Anima Season, and that is without all the extra stats. So here we have an armor that is an Astra, and normally we would tell you that tanks just cannot handle that. But Shield Fighter at this point is good enough that she can be used there. Let's look at the tier list and talk a little more about that. As far as where she sits, I really have her as a far save. I have her right underneath Nagi. I don't believe she touches the top 2, but I do believe she is a tier above Myr. Again, it's that burn damage. The fact that you can actually kill something is huge. That is something that has been lacking from Saviors, and I think this unit can take a hit. She has a ton of DR, flat, and from Shield Fighter, a lot of other stuff going on. I think this is a good unit right now. But let's look at the Astra tier list because things get a little more interesting here. You notice I've dropped it to tier 1. I have a whole criteria on how I'm judging these things in a totally separate video. We're not going to talk about that as much right here. The main thing I want to hit at this point is versatility and longevity. I don't believe this unit is going to have the versatility that Plumeria and Deerboy and Heiðrún. All of these units can be used on any sort of team. I don't believe that is the case with Níðhöggr. I think she's going to be a very good enemy phase unit, but she doesn't really bring a whole lot to player phase teams. So this unit is excellent. If she's your favorite, I think you can get a lot of use out of her. I think the extra supportive ability is nice. It is a hard counter to something that may not be in the meta for you. It depends on who you're going up against. I don't see a whole lot of Nurgle at this point right now, so that is interesting, and that she does have a lot of uses. And again, I have her very highly ranked as a far save. I worry about the longevity of her supportive abilities, though. Okay, Laeradr is something altogether different. This is really fascinating. This is a dark mythic, and this is an excellent unit. Quieting Branch is exactly like it was in the game, and honestly, a lot of folks had trouble beating him in the PvE modes. You really had to take care of him quickly because that assigned decoy was just very annoying. Let's go over what I'm talking about here, though. For Quieting Branch, we have Slaying, we have huge amounts of enemy debuffs. It is attack defense minus 20% of res plus 6. You have special jumping, you have flat DR equals 20% of res, and then an additional 20% of res when a special goes off. You have 7 HP post-combat healing, which isn't the best, but that's okay. And then to closest foes and splashed about, you have defense res minus 7, you have panic, and you have sabotage. That's already good, but we're not really there yet. Then to foes with lowest defense, and that's ranged and melee, you have splashed, assign decoy, and counter disrupt. Both of these are incredible, and I want to tell you why. Assign decoy, and you've probably heard this talked about, assign decoy is a bonus. So you're putting a bonus on the other team, which means it can't be cleansed, but it is absolutely wreaking havoc on all kinds of saviors, because if multiple units are trying to save a unit, that means no one is trying to save a unit. And this is done on the unit with the lowest defense. So suddenly your Dancer Peony becomes the savior and is arguing with your Fjorm, and that absolutely wrecks things. This is a unit that changes the game and how it's played, and it's going to really be interesting how this works going forward. We've been using more Omni tanks in Light Season already, but right off the bat, you have units like Tamara that their stock goes way up. This was already an incredible unit, and if you're using her with someone like Gatekeeper, then this doesn't affect you as much. It is much easier to work around something like that when you have an Omni tank that has some sort of bulwark skill. I expect to see more of that coming up, but it is very much going to be a dividing line where saviors are more in the Astra season and you have Omni tanks more in the Light season. It does give two different flavors of things, but this is a really powerful effect, and I think this is a bit overtuned. Let's go a little bit further, though, and talk about the rest of the kit. Attack Res Fortune, we've seen this before, and this is a very good skill on beasts and lets you transform much easier. It also lets you transform instantly if you're on defense, which is big because that means you have your DC ready. And then you have Yggdrasil's Altar. This is interesting. At start of player phase or enemy phase, inflicts attack defense -7 and discord on foes that are within 2 spaces of one another through their next action. Also, it inflicts penalty on foes attack defense during combat equals number of foes on map with discord effect active, including target times 3 plus 5 max of 14. Normally we just assume that is 14. Deals damage equals 20% of res, and that's excluding AoEs, and unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack during combat, and also when special triggers, neutralizes foes, reduce damage by X% effect from foes non-special skills during combat. So we have piercing as well. I think this unit is going to hit a lot harder than people expect. If we go back to the Heiðrún comparison, Heiðrún was all support. We talked about how wonderful it was that we don't have to worry about how hard that unit hits. I feel like they have the same budget. There's the same amount of game-breaking skills that are in Laeradr, but we have them swapped around so that some of those are given more to his combat ability. This unit is going to hit semi-hard. I'm not going to say this is just an elite nuke, but this is going to be an excellent frontliner for you. He's going to survive very well, and he's going to smack things. So this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out and all the different ways that folks use this unit. But we're not done, because Barricade is ridiculous. This is absolutely inheritable. You can always tell by the gold border. And I want to know badly who can inherit this, because this is the anti-warp that we have been waiting for. Foes with range equals 1 and cannot warp into spaces within 3 spaces of unit, and foes with range equals 2 cannot warp into spaces within 4 spaces of unit. So all of the warping shenanigans can be, well, if not stopped, can really be hampered. And that's interesting for a lot of different reasons. Let's go ahead and finish the skill though. Grants defense res +4 to allies within 3 spaces of unit, and neutralizes their penalties defense res during their combat. If unit is within 3 spaces of an ally, grants defense res +4 to unit and neutralizes units penalties to defense res during combat. All of that's good stuff, but what you're really looking at is the warping here. And I feel like this is what High Dragon Wall should have been. But again, the impact of the skill depends a lot on who it can be inherited to. If this is only inherited to armors, which I doubt, then the value of this just isn't nearly as good. If this is to armors and infantry, which I think is much more likely, then you still have a much wider range of effect. And this is a skill that is going to equal the impact of Canto control at the time. Now, if this is inheritable to everyone, then it is going to be one of these situations where you basically want 2 Laeradrs, and that's going to be hard because he's on colorless, and colorless is the worst color to summon on. So stay tuned. We have a lot of things to really work out on this unit, but the biggest thing is I think this unit has the same versatility as Heiðrún, where he can be used in a lot of different ways to disrupt a lot of different types of things. Let's go over where I rank him, and it is very possible that you can use this unit as a near save or far save. Again, we've talked about it, but Shield Fighter is just that good. But we discussed this a lot in the Discord, and I really wanted to put him more in the support hero category, and that might be a better way to use him. If you're in Summoner Duels, this is probably not the case. You're probably going to want to go with a savior because you need roll compression so badly. But in Aether Raids, you have larger teams, and there is a very real case for putting this unit on a defense just as a melee frontliner and having him just do absolute havoc with all of the stuff he does. Stopping warping is a big deal, and we have a lot of ways to try to get around that, but still, the main way that you use player phase strategies is through warping. This is a big deal and could put a huge hiccup in a lot of people's strategies. We're going to have to see how this works next week. I am very interested to see how much havoc this unit brings, but I have a feeling it's a lot. Mainly in Summoner Duels, although I will say, I keep on saying Summoner Duels, understand that we don't quite know how this effect works. And there's been some speculation, but understand throwing a bonus on a unit is a little different. So we have some experimentation left to do in that mode, if that is your favorite there. In Aether Raids, we have a pretty good idea. This unit is going to wreck saviors. Absolutely wreck them. And the reason is we have a combination of huge threat range, so you couldn't take like your peony and stick her off to the side because I mean, it is so easy to get all the way across the map right now. You have to have that unit defended in some way. So summoners, we're going to have to work around this. And I think Omni tanks are probably going to be the way to go. And we'll have more discussions on this unit. Possibly a how do you counter this video. As far as Dark Mythics, this should come as a surprise to absolutely no one. But this unit is the best Dark Mythic. And I mean, it's not really close. This unit is very, very good, and Dark Mythics have been a bit weak for a while. I did like Loki, but she doesn't have quite the impact as really any of the Anima Mythics. If you look at them, Anima Mythics have gotten some really nice stuff. This is a very good unit, and we're going to have to learn how to deal with them. Just a quick look at the different colors here. Colorless is very much the one you're looking at for both fodder and for units themselves. Loki's, I mean, at this point, is Laeradr. Laeradr is probably good enough that you want a one-off if you're a defense nut. If you're not a defense nut, then, I mean, this whole banner's probably not for you, but this is a big, big thing. Laeradr is a huge deal. Nidhogger is good, and that's a 2, but Laeradr is carrying this banner right here. Clearly, a lot of these are older units. I will say I like Shez a lot. Male Shez is very, very fun, and if you have extra orbs, he is usable in a lot of different fun ways for PvE stuff. For auto battle, he's amazing, and I know it sounds silly to summon a unit for auto battle, but I cannot tell you the gratitude you have when you get to finish off an auto battle round in like one go, just because you have Felix flying across the map and Shez coming in, and then Sigurd, and then you have, Azura coming in with Sigurd's seal, and she has, 4 spaces of movement. It's a lot of fun, but we have a lot of fun things to summon for, so I understand that. If you don't want Laeradr, if you are not a defense nut, then this is probably a skippable banner. The one other thing to look at, slowly but surely, very, very slowly, things are kind of righting themselves as far as the percentages go. So that's something to look at. Colorless is still far and away the worst color to summon on, but it's not as bad as it once was, so just keep that in mind. If you're interested in more Mythic rankings, I just did a full 2.5 hours on those units and all of the things to do with those. Go check that out. It's bookmarked, so you can go right to the unit you want. Members, you are amazing. Thank you for all you do. Take care and schedule an appointment with your FEHologist real soon.